All right, Siim, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on here.
Yeah, I'm glad to talk with you as well.
All right, so you are big into so many biohacking things. It's super exciting. I really love that realm of health, and it's something I'm trying to get more and more into. I think it's something that is really important for my listeners to talk about as well. So, before we get going down that route too much, can you tell my listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, well, I'm an author and like a content creator as well as a speaker from Estonia, and I talk mostly about this biohacking, where it involves things like health optimization, nutrition, diet, resilience, sleep, and everything just related to improving your biology and health in the making. And yeah, I've written several books about this topic. A lot about intermittent fasting is one of my main areas of focus, but also things like sauna, cold, exercise, even like stoicism or like philosophy, and yeah, the immune system. So everything related to just improving your health.
Yeah, and all of that's become more and more of a hot topic these days with all the COVID stuff running around. And it's people are starting to learn that all of these systems hold hands with your immune system and how important it is to take care of all of that in so many different facets. So it's really great. You actually just came out with a new book about immunity, correct?
Yeah, it's co-authored with Dr. James DiNicolantonio, and he's a pretty renowned author. He's also like a cardiovascular researcher and editor in British Medical Journal. So yeah, he's pretty renowned. And yeah, we co-authored the Immunity Fix. It's about, like I said, kind of bridging the gap between your immune system and every other system in your body, like the endocrine system, your circadian rhythms, your metabolism, your metabolic health. So yeah, it's kind of gives you an understanding about how the immune system works and how to improve it based upon these different factors.
Awesome. Well, before we dive in today, I think we need to catch my listeners a little bit up to speed because we want to talk about metabolic autophagy. What is it? It seems like something that's super deep.
Right. Yeah, well, like metabolic autophagy is one of the titles of one of my books, and autophagy itself is like a biological process during which your cells clean up from different like infectious particles, just the junk and the debris. So it is involved in like longevity and anti-inflammatory, results. So you can lower like oxidative stress, you can eliminate different pathogens. It's also involved in the immune system functioning and like fat burning. So it is a pretty central component to like just healthy cellular functioning. And like research finds that efficient autophagy can be linked to many chronic diseases like insulin resistance or even accelerated aging, whereas sufficient autophagy is the opposite. It kind of helps to promote longevity and just general health and well-being.
Right. And I think the first time I ever heard the word cellular autophagy, it was when it came to fasting. So it's become kind of a buzzword in the fasting space. Many people talk about cellular turnover in the fasting space, and that's part of the reason they're doing it. But there are other ways to achieve it as well, correct?
About autophagy from fasting, and it is a very potent way of activating it, but there's not like very clear-cut research about fasting and autophagy per se. There's actually a lot more research about autophagy during exercise, which is one of the maybe second best ways of achieving that. Or even like if you were to consider like the relative amount of autophagy you get, then like during exercise, your body is probably experiencing more autophagy than it is when you are fasting, because like the energy stress is higher during exercise. You're exerting energy, you're burning through like these like glycogen and other resources, so it is imposing more stress on the body, and the stress response itself just activates this autophagy process. But there are also other similar stressors like the heat that you can do with like with the sauna or other forms of maybe hot yoga or something that can also turn on some aspects of autophagy, as well as like these different dietary polyphenols and phytonutrients like coffee, green tea, resveratrol, dark pigmented berries and vegetables. They have these compounds that also turn on autophagy.
So this is a really interesting subject because you've you are hearing this more and more in the health space, people talking about stress and things like that, and it kind of goes both ways. You hear people talking about too much stress, but there are also good stressors as well, correct?
Yeah, like stress itself has a negative connotation, but it's not inherently bad. It is bad only if it becomes chronic. So by definition, stress is just an imbalance in the body's homeostasis and in the inner balance. So if you go out of balance for a short period of time, like an acute stressor doing exercise or doing the sauna or with fasting or something, then it can actually have like a strengthening effect that is improves your metabolic health, increases your fitness, increases resilience, strengthens the immune system, and it only becomes a problem or it can lead to disease if it becomes chronic or if it becomes an overbearing stressor. Like moderate exercise is amazing for your health, but overtraining can be harmful. And this describes like this another biological phenomenon of hormesis, like a small amount of stress or a toxin can actually be beneficial for the body, whereas in large amounts, it can be harmful.
Absolutely, I can attest to that. I have been down the road of over exercising and probably overdoing it in many ways. And I think that was way too much stress for my body. So let's dive into a couple of these things then. I mean, as far as sauna and stuff goes, is there a certain type of sauna? You hear all of these different things about red light, infrared saunas, or regular traditional sauna. What is actually the best way to get the most out of your sauna experience?
Yeah, well, it's a lot of the research has been done on the traditional sauna, like the Finnish sauna with the wooden heated stove, and the way that works is by just elevating or raising the temperature around you in the room, and your body temperature will start to rise as a result of that. And as your body temperature starts rising, then your body releases these heat shock proteins that are like stress molecules that begin to deal with the stress from the heat and try to mitigate the damage from the heat. And these heat shock proteins also have other health benefits, like they reduce inflammation, they repair misfolded proteins, they also stimulate autophagy, and just generally increase the resilience. So that's one of the benefits of the heat. Other benefits include better insulin sensitivity, lower blood sugar, as well as it can be helpful for lowering inflammation, like arthritic inflammation or neuronal inflammation. So all those things can benefit from that. And like the other, most popular way of doing the sauna is the infrared sauna. And generally, you can get the same benefits from the infrared sauna, but there's also the unique effect of the red light wavelengths from the infrared sauna, and those red light wavelengths can essentially penetrate deeper into your tissue and into your like tendons and ligaments, and there they will help with like collagen synthesis, regeneration, and like also more visceral effect. So the infrared sauna works by directly heating your body from the inside out, whereas the traditional sauna heats the air around you and raises your body temperature as a result of that. So they're like the research both shows that you get the same similar health benefits from the regular sauna and the infrared sauna, but with the infrared sauna you get the additional like the red light wavelength benefits.
I gotcha. And so the red light has become kind of a big thing. I know you hear lots and lots of it. People are now putting like red lights at their desk and all sorts of things like that. Does it have to be warm for people to get a benefit from it? What do you think of these like stationary lights that people have now that they're using just in their home or office?
Yeah, the red light therapy devices, they don't work on the same premise as like the sauna. So like the red light itself has very beneficial effects on the body as well, and like primarily by regulating the circadian rhythms, as well as you can still, if you have like a small device, like a handheld device. So I actually have like one of the devices here, this small device, and it doesn't get hot. It doesn't like raise your body temperature as a sauna, but it does go into your tissues and still have an effect. So the red light wavelengths have similar effects, like they lower inflammation, they speed up recovery, promote like collagen synthesis, reduce skin deterioration, and yeah, like just this rejuvenative effect. And primarily, if the light goes through your eyes, then it's also going to regulate the circadian rhythms, which are basically the day and night cycles of your body. And usually we would get some red light and infrared light from the sunlight, but that's not always possible because of like seasonality, or because of you being indoors. Then we miss out on some of that red light. And the problem is that we get too much of the blue light from our devices and screens all the time. So the blue light is also that we get from the sun naturally, but if it's get out of balance with the red light, we create this artificial environment where we're exposed to all this blue light all the time, and that can lead to like macular degeneration, causes oxidative stress, both in the eyes and the skin, as well as disrupt like the body's circadian rhythms and can inhibit like sleep hormones. So we get too much blue light, especially at nighttime when the sun has set, and we get too little of the red light. So using some maybe red light devices in the evening or at any other time of the day can just bring you back into balance.
Now, is there a certain hormonal response to the red light when you are using it? And how much time should somebody sit in front of it? Because obviously it could go the other direction, right? If you have one of those sitting at your desk all day, then you might trip things the other way.
Well, certainly you could, but it's hard to get, let's say, it's hard to overdo it unless you have like this full panel, this full Juve panel or something. Unless that's those big panels you should use only for maybe like 10 to 20 minutes a day. But if you use like the smaller ones with the light just hitting your eyes, maybe a feet away, then that's not going to be a problem. So like even if you were to be outside in the sun, you would always get the red light in some amounts. As long as there's daylight, you would get it. Not maybe you get it less in the morning, and you get more of it in the evening when the sun is setting. But you would always get some aspects of the red light and even like orange light from the sunlight. So it doesn't inherently have like too like negative side effects if it's within a reasonable distance.
Yeah, and that's one thing I also noticed. You were talking about blue light and sleep, is so many people are looking at their phone, including myself, which I'm getting out of the habit. I have it actually turning off at a certain time every night so that I don't look at it. But people are like looking at their phone constantly, looking at computer screens all day, and then they go to bed by like loading their brain down with information, first of all, by like looking through whatever they're looking through, social media, emails, but they're also bombarding themselves with blue light, which is helping them not fall asleep.
Yeah, the blue light is going to inhibit melatonin production. Melatonin is the sleep hormone, and usually we get blue light in the morning, which is good for like waking up and starting the day. So you need blue light in the morning. Like you should maybe go outside if it's possible in the morning after waking up to kind of get this blue light into your eyes and start the circadian rhythm. But in the evening, like an hour or so before bed, you don't want that blue light because it's going to stop melatonin. And research does show that blue light exposure or artificial light exposure at night before bed like increases sleep onset, increases the time people wake up, and just reduces overall sleep quality and deep sleep especially. So you can avoid that or circumvent that by like using these different filters on the screens, like on the computer. There's this Flux or Iris software. On Apple, it's also Flux, and on Twilight or on Android, it's a Twilight with this. It's going to automatically calibrate the screen brightness to be like more red and orange in the evening. And of course, there's like these blue light blocking glasses as well that have like this orange lens, so it's going to filter out the harmful blue light. So you get only like this red and orange.
So that's a question I have. You see it advertised a lot, and I've been wanting to ask a professional about this. You'll see people with regular glasses that are clear, they are not tinted in any color, and they claim to be a blue light blocking glass. Is that actually blocking the correct spectrum of blue, or do you need to have a glass that is actually tinted?
Yeah, there are like these see-through lenses as well, and usually they're used during the daytime to avoid like eye strain when you're working on a computer. Uh, and they do filter out like some of the blue lights, but I would think so that they're not going to completely filter out all the blue light, because there's a like specific range of the blue light that is going to inhibit the melatonin production, and it's between like 400 to 550 nanometers. So there's also like some aspects of green light that does also inhibit melatonin. So I definitely see value in using maybe like the see-through lenses. But if I were to be like completely sure, then I would use like the orange lenses at least like an hour before bed. So usually it takes like maybe 20 minutes or something to start the body, or to allow the body to start reproducing the melatonin again once you've been exposed to blue light. But also like maybe like there's also the psychosomatic aspects of it, so that although you may not be getting like the specific blue light wavelengths, but you're still experiencing the blue light as if you are, because the see-through lenses, you can still see blue things, and you can see the artificial light. Although it gets filtered out to a certain extent, you still experience, and you can create this placebo response. I think that could be like a one option.
So is there a, like, if you're a person that works on a computer, or me, I'm exposed to blue light a lot because we have curing lights in my, I work in dentistry and we are curing things with UV lights materials. So would there be a problem with wearing something like that all time, like during the day frequently? Would it knock off your rhythms if you were wearing it more than before bedtime?
Uh, well, if you were to use like the orange lens, then probably. So you shouldn't use the orange lens during the daytime. You should only use it in the evening.
Okay.
But when it comes to like the artificial light, like the really bright LEDs and UV lights, then for them I would still, it would be still better to kind of use at least some protection, like even if it's the see-through lens during the daytime, because too much of the blue light is still going to be harmful in terms of causing oxidative stress and damage to your cells and mitochondria. So it can, excessive blue light exposure in studies can induce like insulin resistance, like Alzheimer's, or like also like leptin resistance kind of offsets the appetite signaling and those things. So yeah, it can be problematic if you get it too much. And if you are like working in a very artificially lit environment, then the see-through lenses are really amazing for that. But if but it's also maybe good to take some breaks from it. So you should always like try to take breaks during daytime to go outside and get the natural sunlight at least like every hour or so, to maybe at least a few minutes.
And I'm going to reverse just a little bit here. You were saying wake up in the morning and get outside, get to where you can get a real light. And that just reminds me of myself, like in the summertime when it's nice out, I'm up with the sun and I'm on my bicycle when the sun is coming up and I feel great. But in the wintertime when I'm not doing that and there's so much less light, I almost kind of get like a depression going on. And I
Right.
feel like that might have something to do with that.
Yeah, for sure. Like the circadian rhythms also regulate your mood and neurotransmitters, and seasonal affective disorder is a pretty a common thing of not getting enough sunlight, and yeah, during the winter, it's hard to get it, especially in the morning, if like the sun is rising, even like a few hours after waking up. But there are also like these sad lamps, or these seasonal affective circadian clocks or something that automatically try to calibrate the brightness as you wake up, so kind of mimic the sunrise. So there's these clocks as well as these lamps that have this bright light in your face in the morning.
Awesome. Now, I guess this gets me to another thing. A lot of people like to go and suntan in the wintertime because they feel like that is giving them the UV stuff that they're missing in the winter. What is your thoughts on that?
I think like in small amounts, or every once in a while, that can be okay. It's not going to inherently be bad, and you may get like some benefits from that, or you may stimulate some vitamin D synthesis from that. But yeah, you probably shouldn't do it like maybe every week or something. You should do it like maybe only a few times a month or something.
Gotcha. That was just something that popped in my head because I hear a lot of people that they do tan in the winter time because they're trying to keep that feel good, warm feeling going on, I guess. So, yeah. So we kind of jumped down a rabbit hole there a little bit with the light, which was great. But let's kind of reverse here a little bit into the opposite of sauna, which is cold baths and cold plunges. You're seeing it more and more. People are taking ice baths in their backyards and water troughs. People have freezers. I don't know if you know of Brad Kearns, but he has a freezer he gets into every single day. It's like a just an old chest freezer outside. It's like 40 degrees or something. And he gets into that thing every day. And so it's becoming more and more of a thing. Also, cryotherapy. What are your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, the cold can also have quite great benefits. Usually the benefits are related to just also like lowering inflammation, and like especially some studies show that it can be like a useful therapy for like this arthritic pain as well as neural inflammation. Other benefits include like activation. It's going to like raise your metabolic rate as well as make you more insulin sensitive, and increase the amount of brown fat you have. So brown fat is considered like the healthy fat. And white fat is the unhealthy fat that is used primarily just for energy balance. Whereas brown fat can also increase like your heat production as well as insulin sensitivity. So in the cold, you start to first of all, you start to burn some of the white fat, and some of the white fat gets also converted into brown fat. So just you'll be like more resilient against the cold and other stressors as a result of that, and your like metabolic health gets better as well. And the cold will by itself, it's also going to lower your blood sugar uh, because you're gonna like burn energy for the heat production, and yeah, usually the cold, yeah, it can be just a general a way of increasing this hormesis or this stress resilience.
Right. And so that's another thing that make is got my wheels spinning here. So I know more and more people are wearing continuous glucose monitors to monitor what spikes their blood sugar, ways to mitigate that, maybe by eating protein or fat first before they eat their carbohydrates, or maybe taking a walk after dinner, all these things. So would it be a logical thing to be like, okay, I ate a more carby dinner, I should maybe take a cold plunge? Does it work in that particular order? Is it something, or is it something that has to be built over time?
Well, I think it would work, even if you do it for the first time. So, the difference is that if you're not used to it, then it can also like increase, or it's going to be tougher first, and is also going to release more stress, increase stress and cortisol. So, in that sense, you still have to be like somewhat careful with it. But yeah, like you could generally like lower your blood sugar as well, similar to walking, if you were to take like a cold shower or like a cold bath after finishing a dinner. But the thing is also that if it becomes like an overbearing stressor, then you can also like go into the sympathetic nervous system state where you're like stressed out, and that is going to shut down your digestion and is also going to make you slightly insulin resistant. So it's like a double-edged sword. So like in some amounts it can be beneficial, but it's very easy to make it too excessive and backfire at you.
I'm glad that you said that. That's a great way you just explained that. So I like the double-edged sword analogy because that happens in a lot of these things where we're trying to help ourselves, but we end up actually hurting ourselves because we overdo it instead of just taking the median road.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like everything has like a uh, let's say the costs and benefits, and almost everything has like this bell curve when it comes to like this hormesis. So like exercise, if you're not exercising enough, you're sedentary, then you are increasing your risk of these many diseases, metabolic diseases. If you exercise in moderation, you're in the Goldilocks zone, you're healthy and you have good body composition. If you exercise too much, then that also like increases stress and eventually leads to like breakdown. And the same can apply to fasting. If you're eating all the time over the course of 16 hours from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to bed, then you're never experiencing fasting, you're never getting the benefits from it, and you are maybe potentially increasing the risk of these metabolic diseases as well. If you do some form of this time restricted eating, you skip a meal or you confine your eating window a little bit, you get most of the benefits. And if you do like these crazy long fasts all the time, then that's also too much stress and bad. So everything has like the similar bell curve where too much is not too much is bad, too little is also not good, and in moderation somewhere is the way where you want to go. And how much is too much, how much is too little, how much is just enough is very also context dependent, and it varies between individuals, and it depends on their like age, their general fitness, their level of stress resilience, their metabolic health, and nutrient status. So all these things have to kind of have to be taken into account. So there's never this one size fits all solution or answer.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. I see it show up in every aspect, right? We see it in fitness, we see it in nutrition, we see it here in the biohacking world. Uh, Everybody thinks there's only one way to do things. And I think there are so many other factors, and we are all so unique and individual that we have to keep that in mind when we are trying to work on our health. So I'm glad that you said that. So, what are some other ways that we can achieve metabolic autophagy, cellular autophagy? What are other things we can do besides saunas, fasting, cold?
Yeah, like maybe these dietary phytonutrients are pretty researched about that. So like coffee as well as caffeine itself will stimulate autophagy. So the polyphenols from coffee and the caffeine is turning on the body's, let's say, defense mechanisms, because like it does create this small stress, like the caffeine and the polyphenols. They're not like inherently digestible, so to say, that they are creating some small amount of stress, and the body responds to it by turning on all these defense mechanisms and antioxidant pathways, one of them being autophagy and others being like nrf2, and so leading to glutathione. So yeah, it's these dietary phytonutrients, dark pigments, polyphenols, berries, as well as these herbs and spices like cayenne pepper, turmeric, ginger, rosemary, all those things.
Right. And so now, do you recommend with the caffeine not doing it as soon as you wake up in the morning? Is there a golden time to take that on? Because I know a lot of people talk about it being too much of a stressor in the morning when people first wake up.
Yeah, like I would say that you should wait at least like a few hours after waking up before consuming caffeine, because your cortisol levels are the highest once you wake up, because it's supposed to wake you up and give you energy. So if you add caffeine on top of that, then that can be easily take you to the excessive zone. So you get the jitters or anxiety or just heart palpitations or just stressed out because of tipping yourself over the top. So yeah, waiting a few hours, like maybe 1 to 2 hours after waking up, and then consuming some caffeine, that you can easily avoid that.
So could that be said for other things too, as far as like sauna, cold plunge, other stressors? Is it best to wait because your cortisol is a little higher when you wake up? Is it best to wait a few hours before you partake in any of those things?
Well, you could, but like let's say it depends on what intensity it is. So if you go for a walk after waking up, then that can be like a good thing, because it's not intense exercise, and it's going to maybe like burn some glucose from your bloodstream, so it can lower your blood sugar, because like your blood sugar is also going to rise in the morning because of cortisol. So if you go for a walk, you can lower that blood sugar and avoid maybe problems from that. uh, Also, like a cold shower for a few maybe 30 seconds or 1 minute or 2 minutes, that can also be a good way to achieve a similar effect. Usually people, I don't know, like a lot of people who go to the sauna in the morning, but theoretically it could work. and it's not going to inherently cause like a massive amount of stress from that. So these smaller stressors can be beneficial.
Right. Thank you for clarifying that because I was thinking, well, there are other stressors too. And I know, like, when it comes to people with adrenal problems and things like that, they say to wait on definitely the coffee, if any, until later on in the morning. So that's why what sparked that. So let's talk about resveratrol, and what it is and how it also contributes to cellular autophagy.
Yeah, well, resveratrol is very known anti-aging molecule, or said to have these anti-aging benefits, and it was discovered, or like its anti-aging benefits were discovered by David Sinclair, who realized or found that resveratrol turns on a particular group of proteins in the body called sirtuins, and sirtuins are considered longevity genes that improve longevity, as well as improve metabolic health, lower like triglycerides, lower blood sugar, improve insulin sensitivity, and also resveratrol promotes autophagy as well through the sirtuin activation. And
Got
usually you get like resveratrol naturally you get from these dark red and dark red berries, fruit in the skin of fruits, as well as red wine.
That's what I was going to ask was how red wine played into that because I was thinking that it contributed as well. So
Yeah.
awesome. So if there was anything that you wanted to communicate to someone that where they could start taking a step towards improving their health by doing some biohacking, what would you suggest they do?
Uh, well, I think yeah, you shouldn't, or you should realize you don't need to go into the very cutting edge things or the fancy things. You should first start with the basics and the fundamentals, like getting your diet fixed, exercising regularly, doing some form of maybe hot and cold therapy, and yeah, definitely focusing a lot on just improving your sleep, because like no nootropic is gonna work if your sleep is bad, or at least it's not gonna be fully optimized to its potential. So yeah, like the fundamentals are still the most important things, and then you can like start to experiment and add on top of it.
I love that. You can't fix anything with just a supplement. And I see that happening a lot in society now. Somebody gets sick and they're like, okay, well, I've just started taking turmeric and probiotics and all these things, but they're still eating horrible foods for them. And it's like, well, you kind of have to fix the whole thing. You can't just throw something at it. But that's kind of the society that we have grown up in, right? If you have a headache, you take ibuprofen. That's what you thought, right? Not figure out why the headache started, but here is how we treat it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, just like supplements can be a quick fix, but it's not going to be like the long-term solution. And like once you stop taking a supplement or like a medication, then you're going to just go back to where you were. So the more sustainable approach would be to make sure that you have like the fundamentals solid.
Absolutely. So if my listeners want to come find you, how do they do that?
Yeah, well, my website is siimland.com, and on all the social media platforms, I'm also Siim.
And you have lots of podcasts out there. You have multiple books that are wonderful. What are some of the books that you have out there that they could look into?
Yeah, the one that we talked about is metabolic autophagy. I also have Stronger by Stress, which talks about hormesis and stress. And my latest one is The Immunity Fix with Dr. James DeNicolantonio.
Well, I'm excited. I'm going to look those up for myself. I'm going to put all your information in the show notes as well so people can look into you a little more. You have a lot of great information out there. And I really appreciate you spending a few minutes with me this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun talking with you.